Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 58 of my Casting Everyday Challenge. And we're going to go back to the Colorado State Miami, Ohio game, and just want to try to get through this series today. There's not too much left in it, so I'll try to do the entire series right now. It shouldn't take too much longer. Sorry about that. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and start. So Colorado State here is going to be up 1-0 so far. They did win the first series, and it seems that they're going to bring in their Warrior deck against the Shaman. So both of these decks are fairly aggressive, and I kind of want to give the advantage over to the Shaman just because of the amount of taunts he can bring out with Feral Spirits, just because of how the AoE they have to be able to clear off these early Pirates. I feel like the Shaman's going to have a much easier time. Now, that is if they could find the spells. We already saw they had the Feral Spirits, so there's going to be a good amount of taunts that Colorado State's going to have to go through, and without any AoE spells, they're going to have to go through them manually with minions or with face damage. And Miami, Ohio also has that Maelstrom Portal, which is going to help out clear off the easier of those pirates, like the South Sea Deckhand, this N'Zoth's First Mate. But for Colorado State, this is really the dream start. You want to have a N'Zoth's First Mate coin into that South Sea Deckhand, but because they're against a pirate, or because they're against a Shaman, they are going to hold back a little bit. They do realize that Maelstrom Portal on turn 2 would just completely wipe their board, and as you see, great job from Colorado State there, seeing that. Now they're not going to get punished for overloading the board right here, and it will allow them to play that South Sea Deckhand later on and not have to worry about that AoE clear. What they do have to worry about right now is possibly those Jade Claws in the hand of Miami, Ohio, that is going to kill off this Bloodsail Raider. Now, they are going to have to take at least 3 damage for, they'll face damage for it, and this is when the South Sea Deckhand is going to come out. That's going to be pushing 2 more damage to face, and this is where the Warrior just starts a clock of how quickly they could try to kill their opponent, and Miami has to try to delay that clock as long as possible. So yeah, looking at the hand of Miami, Ohio, besides those Feral Spirits, they really don't have anything too much. I feel like the best thing here is to get rid of what they can on the board first. And because of the way that Colorado State cleared the board, they really can't really clear anything except if they want to go for that South Sea Deckhand. And that is extremely weak at this point. Even if they use the Jade Claws with that 1/1 Jade coming out there, it's not going to live because of the Rusty Hook. So they actually decided to play it a little slow, go with the Trogg and the Totem Golem to try to get some sort of board presence, but with the hand that we see outside of Colorado State, they're going to be able to just push a lot of face damage now. They're going to be able to either use the Captain or the Cutlass right here, or the Cultist, sorry, and it looks like they're going to go with the Captain. Try to push for 2 extra damage face. Actually going to clear a little bit. I do like this from Colorado State. They're playing the board because they had that Reno Jackson in hand. They realize that they can go ahead and try to play this tempo game of just being able to play these big minions with that Captain, and they're going to protect it. We see that Leroy Jenkins in their hand, and that's now 6 burst damage at any time that they're going to be able to use. Now, an interesting choice coming out from Miami, Ohio. They could just get rid of the deckhand at this point, or they could try to taunt up. Not really a good decision coming out here for anything. They really don't have much that they could go for. They don't have those big AoE clears just yet, and they actually are overloaded, so they can't even go ahead and use that Drake next turn, because no matter what they do, they're still going to be overloaded unless they completely just hero power pass, and that's just way too weak. You can't have a dead turn against Pirate Warrior if you want to try to win the game. So they have to either decide we are either going to taunt up or get rid of your deckhand, and that's really their only option at this point. And it's going to be to taunt up. It's going to be the best use of their mana. Only problem is, though, that those minions are going to be taken pretty easily, and actually they can get some good value trades here. If they're not going to worry about Maelstrom Portal, they could use not only the Captain but also this Kor'kron Elite and then go face for 4, but they will be leaving themselves with a lot of 1 health minions, and if Miami, Ohio is able to find any sort of AoE, even that Maelstrom Portal, they're going to be able to clear the board that way. So they might not go for that because it's going to be a little too risky and it puts their Captain in danger. So they could actually still go for 3 face, but it is going to cost them their deckhand. But their Captain's going to stay at 3 health, and unless they get high rolled on Lightning Storm, then it should be able to live till the next turn. It's going to either be this Mortal Strike or the Kor'kron Elite, and I would be very surprised if they don't use the Kor'kron Elite. The Mortal Strike is always good for that late game burst of being able to go through taunts and possibly do more than 4 damage, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be that Kor'kron Elite, and will they play into any sort of AoE? Doesn't look like it. They're going to play safe here, and I do like the decision by Colorado State. Shamans have so much AoE that they're going to have to play around mostly all that, and the Lava Burst here not going to be a really good card until late game when they try to end it. Miami, Ohio not teching against Pirates, it seems, and they're trying to go for more aggressiveness, and it's just not going to work for them because they are so far away from having any sort of lethal. Now, they're at 23 health. 4 turns in against a Pirate Warrior, or you're on your turn 5, and you're at 23 health. That's a good life total, especially with a Shaman who has some healing with that Jinyu Water Speaker. So they're not doing that bad in this game, but they've just been overloaded so much that they couldn't put down these high-value minions, such as that Azure Drake. So I feel like this turn, it finally put those J-Claws down and get rid of that Kor'kron Elite. I feel like that's your only play at this point. And it looks like that's what they're exactly going to go for. Now, this 1-1's not going to do too much. Probably just going to eat a Rusty Hook charge, and that's it. And we'll actually see the Rusty Hook most likely go up to a 2-2. Very surprising here. The small-time Buccaneer still being used from Colorado State. Most people have been taking this out just because of the 1 health is not good against any sort of AoE. And it's too punishing at this point. But it's still in their deck, so they're going to use it. They're going to have a 4-2 because of the captain. And now with that 2-2 coming up for that Rusty Hook, it's just not looking good for Miami, Ohio at this point because they're going to be taking 3 damage to face yet again. Down to 16 this time. They have no healing in their hand. They now finally picked up some taunts, but might be too little too late at this point. They'll at least be able to buff them up to 4 threes, but it's still not going to be that hard for Colorado State to push through them. This is still going to be 5 more damage going to face as well. This has just been slow but steadily Colorado State controlling the board, which you don't want to allow the Pirate Warrior to control the board. You want to get rid of his minions and stop this onslaught to your face. And we do see that the small-time Buccaneer is going to be taken down, but with the pick of that Fiery War Axe, they're actually going to be able to keep their captain healthy, and they actually just might use a Mortal Strike instead. It will keep both of their minions healthy and allow them to save on that Fiery War Axe later down the line. Because it's not only a weapon in their hand. So once that uses its 2 charges, they have nothing unless they pick something up. Now, they want to try to grab an Arcanite Reaper or another Fiery War Axe to reload. I really like this use of the Mortal Strike here. It's going to allow that Cultist this Cultist to stay alive. It's going to only take 2 damage instead of the 4. Looks like he's actually going to throw his captain into it. I guess he wants to put as much damage as he can at this point. And with the Leroy Jenkins, that is going to be game for Colorado State. I can't think of anything that Miami can do here to survive. They might see the Lava Burst and think that's enough, but it isn't going to be. We see the Leroy Jenkins in the hand of Colorado State, and yeah, they think that if they control the board right here, they have a chance. Actually, the only shot they had if they had an extra couple minions to try to go for the taunt totem, but it's not going to be enough because they were overloaded. They're not going to be able to do that, and that's going to be game 2 going over to Colorado State. Very good game there coming out from Colorado State. They played the board perfectly, using their spells when they needed to, and actually trade it beautifully as a Pirate Warrior. Most people just think, I'm going to go face, win this game by going face or dying by it. But the thing to play Pirate Warrior successfully is to know when you're supposed to trade, know when you're supposed to delay the face damage, and they did that perfectly. They traded the damage when they needed to, they went face when they could, and they just outvalued the Shaman. And yes, they were running out of cards near the end game without any card draw on the deck, but they really didn't need it. They picked up that Leroy, they had the burst damage, and that was a beautiful use of the Mortal Strike, which I don't believe a lot of people would have done. I think a lot of people would have tried to save that for face damage. Alright, so I'm going to skip ahead while they're doing this in-between game stuff. And it's going to be game 3. Colorado State, they just need 1 win with their Druid. And it seems like Miami, Ohio is going to go ahead and try to use their own Pirate Warrior, which they're also running a version with the Leroy Jenkins. But a fairly decent hand from Colorado State. They don't have a turn 1, and their turn 2 is going to be spent wild growthing. but they're going to be able to turn 3 Jade Spirit once they have 4 mana. So this is going to work out for Colorado State. But if we look at this hand of Miami, Ohio, they have the N'Zoth First Mate into the upgrade. So that's going to be a 2-3 weapon they're going to have. That's going to help them in the long run to go face as much as possible. Now, what they might actually think of doing is holding off on that upgrade and actually using the Sir Finley here and trying to get a good hero power such as the Fireball or the Arcane. No, sorry, Steady Shot is the Hunter hero power. And I don't think we're going to see really anything out from Colorado State that could answer that. And yes, they're going to take it a little bit slower and see what they can get out from the Sir Finley. Shapeshift is actually not too bad. Adding 1 damage to your weapon whenever you can actually turn the tide. The only thing is, though, why not just go Fire Blast? Yeah, you could go through taunts. You're going to be able to do that 1 damage anyway for the same amount of mana. It's a no-brainer action now that I think about it. It's just so much better. I thought it was like, oh, you only have to swing once, but then I kind of thought of it as the way as, oh, wait, you can just swing and then ping if you need be, and then there's no sense of going over and overkilling a minion. So, yeah, it's a no-brainer at this point, while Colorado State's going to have to play slow. That Mulch is probably not going to be used for anything besides if a Berserker comes out. That Mulch is just going to be a dead card for a long time. And Miami, Ohio right now just has to hope that Colorado State doesn't find a swipe to clear this board. Now, granted, it's all just 1 minions, but those chips can take its toll. The upgrade is going to be held on to. It looks like they want to use it for the Fiery War Axe to make it a 4-3 instead of a 3-2. And hey, a 3-mana weapon for 4, that's a 4-3. That's pretty powerful. The Jade Spirit finally going to come out, but this has been a very slow game so far by Colorado State, and Miami, Ohio is going to have those late game tickets to, and they actually just decide right now, hey, let's just do the Fiery War Axe upgrade at this point. Put them down extremely low, do 7 damage this turn. We actually could do a little bit of trading as well, and then, yeah, the Sir Finley just going to easily value trade there and just send the rest face, put him down to 17 health. And with the damage we have, we actually might have lethal by turn 5 because we already have the Leroy Jenkins in our hand. So here's the point that Colorado State has to think about. Do they already have to Fail Rage just to survive? And if they do, they have to go for the armor. They have enough mana to actually kill off this courier too, but they're still just going to leave up a pretty hefty board. But at the same time, look at the board that Miami, Ohio has already. They have 6 damage and minions, 4 from the weapon. They're going to have a lot more. They're actually so close to lethal at this point. They are just 2 damage off. So this could just easily be a Bloodsail Raider ping face and just really just hope that your opponent doesn't get any sort of healing, doesn't get any sort of taunts. And even with taunts, this game might be over. Yeah, they're just going to apply as much damage as possible right now. And yeah, Colorado State, this is just what happens when you bring a slow deck such as Jade Druid against a Pirate Warrior. It's just almost impossible to win against. And even if they have some way to fully clear this board, that swipe coming out a little too late, not going to be enough because you still have the weapon. That's 4 damage that would go to your face. You would have to taunt up, but as you see, taunting will take their entire turn, and it's not enough. They are going to basically be forced here to Feral Rage to put them to 11 and mulch that 6-3. So is that going to be enough, though? They'll now have 11 health. That's, let's see. We'll have to see after they clear these off if it's going to be enough. They need to do 11 damage. There's 6 and 5. And yeah, that's going to be game with the Leroy Jenkins. That's just a turn 5 lethal out this side from Miami, Ohio. And that's just having the perfect hand for the Warrior. He was able to get the cards he needed. He played them perfectly. And when you're playing against a slow deck, such as a Jade Druid, sometimes the Druid just can't do anything. So with about 20 minutes left in this video, I thought this was going to be a pretty quick series, and I thought that Colorado State would win 3-1, maybe 3-0, but Miami, Ohio won a very quick deck. And we were seeing that Hammer of Twilight again. I completely forgot about that card. Very shocking that they're running that. My best guess is that they think, hey, a lot of people are running weapon removal. We're just going to have a big-time weapon. If they remove it, hey, we get a 4-2 out of it. but it's so expensive in my opinion. It's a 4/2 weapon for 1 more mana than Death Spite, and you get a 4/2 out of it, but after the fact, it's just too slow in my opinion. Tunnel Trog on turn 1, that is always perfect. There's nothing else you could really hope for out of the side of the Shaman. And now, again, this Druid, very slow deck, and they're not really having that turn 2 ramp at this point. They're going to have to wait for turn 1. Sorry, I've been the coin into the Wild Growth, I believe. Yeah, that's the card's name. So they're going to have to actually wait till turn 2 to go ahead and Jade Blossom, but they'll be able to Jade Blossom in 2 turns, then go ahead and Jade Spirit afterwards to start the Jade ramp extremely early, try to make it tough for Miami, Ohio to really do anything. And at this point, they really don't have a turn unless they just want to throw out those Jade Claws. And again, we see the Hammer of Twilight in their hand. They might be running 2 versions of that in their deck. And I gotta say, I'm not the biggest fan of that card. I hope they prove me wrong this time around. I actually love when casting Hearthstone being proven wrong, just because then I learn through it. But I still can't see the Hammer of Twilight being too impactful in this case. Especially because you're already running 2 Jade Claws. You don't need any more weapons. I guess it does help you with the clearing, but we'll have to see how it works in this deck. And I'm going to have to say this is an easy coin out for the Jade Blossom. Start your Jades going, get your ramp going, and next turn you'll also be able to Jade Blossom. And if you get maybe like a Raven Idol or something, you'll be able to do something for 1 mana. So we're going to just get the 1/1 totem, probably the weakest totem you could possibly get in this situation. And this is now a decision from Miami, Ohio. Do they trade with the weapon? Do they go face? Do they try to put as much damage as they can? They do have to worry about it as the game goes later and later, as the Druid ramps up, as they get those Jade Golems. It's going to get harder and harder for this matchup. And that is the win condition for Colorado State. Live long enough to put as many Jades as you can there. You already have the Adjutant, you have the Auctioneer in your hand in order to cycle through your cards. If you have those Jade Idols, then you could just permanently cycle and just permanently put down Jades, and that is going to be the problem with Miami, Ohio. They're going to have to try to kill off this Jade Druid as quickly as possible, and they're actually going to go with the trade with the 1/1 Jade. I would have actually liked to see it come out from the Jade Claws instead. They were just too afraid to swipe, and in my opinion, I feel like you had to go for keeping the minions alive. Now, the one thing that's good at this, if another Jade Blossom comes down, you are going to be able to clear it off with the Jade Claws, and that's probably going to be what comes out of Colorado. But because they don't have any other play, and they could actually next turn Jade Blossom into Wrath, I really do like this play. The only thing is, next turn now they can't Ayah. They could have Ayah'd if they Jade Blossom this time and try to get that Jade counter as quickly as possible, but this is a better use of their mana, so I could see why they're going in this way. They are going to be able to Wrath next turn to get rid of that Tunnel Trog, and I feel like that's exactly what they have to try to do. They're going to get the Jade Lightning out of the side of Miami, Ohio, but then, again, we said this Jade counter for Druid, you also have to watch out for the Jade counter for the Shaman. It's still going higher and higher, and at this point, what can Colorado State do to really give them a big swing? I feel like they can't really do anything besides to Jade Blossom and Wrath here. Are they going to Wrath for cards? I don't think they can. I think they have to kill off this Tunnel Trog. They're going to get a 3/3 Jade out of this, and it's going to be enough to swing with the board as much as... Actually, what you would think, it'd be good enough to deal with this board. But we see that Hammer of Twilight in the hand of Miami, Ohio, and maybe this is why they bring it, in order to deal with Jades. Now, I feel like this is just perfect circumstance for them in order to keep their board healthy and get rid of a Jade, but I gotta say, I don't know if it's the best play at this point, though. Because you could still Totem Golem with Feral Rage and just overload your board right now. Try to put the pressure onto Colorado State, force them into making a decision of how to clear your board. The Hammer of Twilight, all you're going to be able to do, you just clear off the Jade. You don't really put anything on the board, and yeah, they're going to go for that Hammer of Twilight, and at this point, you just keep your board healthy. But it's a 1/1 and a 2/2. It's not going to do all that much, and this is a great turn for Colorado State. And now that Wild Growth that they picked up, that's going to be great for turn 10 for that Gadgetzan Auctioneer. a 2-mana draw 3 cards then with that Gadget Stand is so strong. And then with that Innervate as well, they're going to be able to then swipe. They're going to be able to do anything that they have for that 4-mana slot. Feral Rage, even if they wanted to, for 3. There's a lot of options to them, and they have so much card draw from that combo. The only problem is, are they going to be able to make it there? They are 2 turns out from being able to use that Wild Growth for Cycle, but they have a 4/4 Jade and a 5/3 Aya out right now. So a 5/5 Jade is going to come out at some point, and this puts pressure on Miami, Ohio. How do they clear with this? Do they go for the Jade first? Do they try to clear off both? You have Feral Rage, you have Lava Burst, you have Argent Horse Riders you can put out this turn. You even have some Lava Golems as well. You have a lot of ways to deal with this. You could just throw your minions into the Aya, clear off the 4/4, Lava Burst to 5/5, throw out some Feral Rage spirits. But the only problem is, though, you're going to be really overloaded for the next turn. So they actually plan on just throwing down some Totem Golems. And what are they going to do with this Hammer Swing? Are they going to lead the Aya up? Are they going to kill off the Jade? There's a lot of options for them. They are just going to go downtown and hope that they have the pressure right now to win. And actually, looking at their hand, they are just going to be too overloaded to Argent Horse Rider and Lava Burst. But this now puts the pressure in Colorado State. They have to do something in order to deal with these board minions right now, because if 6 damage survives, that could be game for Miami, Ohio with that Lava Burst. So they have to think right now, okay, no doubt they have a Lava Burst in their hand. They just went so aggro at this point, and not a good pickup of the Fandral. They need something big right now. Feral Rage to keep them in this game. Druid of the Claw, not exactly what they need either, so this might have to be a mulch in order to just deal with the board at this point. Not looking too good for Colorado State. They picked up another Wild Growth, which is not going to be good until turn 10 for that card draw. Luckily, a big swing and the miss for Miami, Ohio out of that mulch. That is not really going to help them out too much. So with this board clear 3 damage, there is an 8 in the hand of Miami, Ohio. They do pick up another Hammer of Wrath, but just not enough for this turn. So Colorado State will live, and they do have a taunt. Now, does Miami, Ohio play around the taunt right now? I feel like they have to push as much damage as they can face. If they can put Colorado State down to 4 health, it would be perfect. And they can with the Hammer of Twilight. I feel like that is the play. Throw down the Hammer of Twilight, go 7 face, put your opponent to 4. That means they cannot hero power out of Lava Burst range. They need something else. They need a Feral Rage in order to get a lot more armor. Maybe if they're running a Moonglade Portal, who knows, that could help them survive in this game. I feel like that's a play. Put them down to 4 health and force them to get some healing or get some big armor ups. And if they're not able to find it, that will be game. We'll have to see if Miami, Ohio thinks the same way as I do. And it looks like they do, as they're going to... No, did they actually... They're going to trade instead. As I say that, looking at the damage that Colorado State had, I was completely wrong. I was too worried looking at what Miami had. Didn't look at what was on the board. There was 8 extra damage there, so they had 19 damage. They only needed, he was at 25, so they only needed 7 damage. That's an easy swipe. That's a Druid of the Claw. That would have been game. So I was completely wrong. I love being wrong. It makes me learn in this situation. So good job by Miami, Ohio to not fall into the trap that I was thinking of doing. They still have a good ways of getting lethal. If they pick up another Lava Burst, it's going to really help them as well. So this is where the Fandral Druid of the Claw is going to really help out. And this is now the decision by Colorado State. Do they trade? Do they go face? It looks like they're going to trade everything too. They don't even leave up the Spell Power Totem. So is there any way for lethal out of the side of Ohio? Let's just say they high roll and get the Spell Power Totem out so they can clear out the Druid of the Claw. Do they have 9 damage in hand out of only 3 mana? They do not. So they don't have a way to win on this turn. This is now the decision out of Miami, Ohio. How do they deal with that Druid of the Claw out? Do they try to get any sort of totem to help them out through their hero power? Do they taunt up to protect their face? Because what is on board right now will kill them. So I don't even know if they could keep up the Fandral because of the possibilities that are coming out and just not allowing them to win. But if you go with that Lava Burst into the Fandral, then you're sacrificing a lot of your damage, and your opponent's at 9 health. They're so close at being dead at this point. I feel like you play to just try to survive, play those Feral Spirits, and hope that your opponent can't go through them and go face. We do see that with the swipe that is not the answer. They need to get a Taunt Tome as well. They have the spell power, though. So this is going to allow them to kill off that Druid of the Claw, and it is going to keep them alive just a little bit longer at this point. And they're going to go face with that weapon, the Hammer of Twilight. So they have quite a bit of damage. Colorado State now has to answer. They have the card draw from the Wild Growths as well. Luckily for Miami, Ohio, they do not have the Auctioneer anymore, so it's only 1 card, not 3, which is just insane. And the brand not going to help them out in this situation either. I feel like they might have to try to cycle again, because at this point, the swipe is only going to be able to do so much. They will be able to clear out the board, no doubt, but they want to try to get something else to help them to go with that swipe in order to clear off a lot of things. And Jade Idol not going to help them too much either. It's going to put at least something on the board then at the end of the turn, but it's not going to help them in the long run. So they're going to have to clear off everything at this point. Probably use the Jades to do that. And, okay, use the Fandral, I guess. Yeah, you wanted to keep the 6/6 Jade healthy. That is true. And they're going to clear everything off, and they're not going to use that Jade Idol. So my best guess here, they're not using the Jade Idol because they don't want to flood their deck with those idols. They want to be able to pick up some sort of armor upping or some burst damage to kill Miami, Ohio. The Jade Idols at this point is only going to be a 7/7, and it's too slow for them. They will lose with that. So is there damage in the hand of Miami, Ohio? They have 4 right now, so they are still 6. Wait, they have lethal. No, they are overloaded for 4. Oh, I thought they had lethal for a second with the combo that they have with a Flame Tongue, but they have the damage, just not the mana because of how highly overloaded they were from the last turn. And now, yet again, they are trying to play to survive at this point. I think they had to roll. They had to roll a Stoneclaw. That's not it. That might be game. I can't see a way that Miami, Ohio gets out of this. And yeah, that's going to be it for Colorado State. They're going to win this in a very tough game against the Shaman there. And yeah, so there are your winners. Wow, Colorado State in a very close 4th game there against Miami, Ohio. So thank you everybody for joining me today. This was actually a pretty interesting final game. And yeah, a lot of quick games as well. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow, if you guys are watching this, tomorrow Sunday, I'm going to be casting quite a bit of Penn State games onto my Twitch channel, so definitely keep an eye out on that. It's going to be a lot of fun games. We are very close to the playoffs at this point, so every game matters. They're trying to get not only for good seeding, but just to make it in the playoffs for half these teams. At this point, we've only played 1 game in the week, and there's still 2 playoff spots up for grabs, and like 4 or 5 teams are fighting for those, and then the other 5 teams are just fighting for top seed in those playoffs. You don't want to lose. You want to win your first round and make it to the Penn State land. That's at the end of the year. So thank you, everybody, for joining me, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.